And I'd ask our panelists perhaps to introduce themselves, what year they are in the program, where they're from, and how they fit into the program, and in fact, if they are supporting our students as they're studying here. So Chris, let's start with you.
Yeah, so my name is Chris Hammonds. I'm a second year MBA candidate here. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. Hey. Yeah, so, and I'm in the consulting enterprise here. I sort of informally, I guess, support the students. I'm not actually an ambassador, but I do like helping out. I wasn't able to be an ambassador. I was doing my failed presidential run when they were taking applications, so I had to pick between the two. But yeah, so I sort of try to help them out here with events like these whenever I can. So.
Yeah, hi, I'm Blake Holman. I'm from Edina, Minnesota, second year MBA. I am currently being supported by my wife, who is a special ed teacher. She could not make it. Yeah, I am in the Carlson brand enterprise, have loved it, and am excited to talk with all of you.
Wonderful. My name is Janessa Nickel, and I'm originally from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I'm in the Ventures Enterprise and also involved with MILI, which is the Medical Industry Leadership Institute, so I can take any questions at the happy hour regarding those things. And I actually am an ambassador for the program. I'm very excited to be here and talk with all of you.
Corbin Plooster, fiance.
I'm Jacqueline Williams. Before my MBA, I was living in Denver, and I'm also in the Ventures Enterprise. I'm a first year. I'm an ambassador. That's about it.
My name's Jordan Kuhn. I'm Jackie's fiance.
Oh.
And
wow,
we moved from Denver together.
I really want to hear the stories now, how you asked to pop the question. Maybe that's for another occasion. I think, as you remember perhaps sitting at up close, or even as you were moving through the application process and applying through the school, let's start baseline here. What were you hoping to gain by earning your MBA degree? And then the part two of that, and we'll spend a little bit more time on that, is why the Carlson School. So let's address the MBA first. I open it up to the panel.
I'll take a stab at that, I
ahead.
guess.
All right.
So before coming back to graduate school, my background is actually a non-business background for the most part. I have experience in healthcare, but in my undergrad, my major was ethnic studies and a minor in Arabic language. So a little different. And I realized after working in healthcare that I really wanted to go back to school and gain those quantitative skills that an MBA can offer, and really gain that business background so I could launch my career further in the healthcare industry. So that's why I came back to get an MBA. And Carlson as well, or just?
Go for it, yeah.
I chose Carlson for a few different reasons. I think that the enterprise program is so strong and is an opportunity that you really do not find at other business programs around the country. Other programs have similar opportunities, but they don't last as long as the enterprise program here at Carlson. And I think that for me, being an early career MBA student, that was crucial to not only get back into the classroom, but also gain those real life skills.
Okay, so I actually have a non-traditional background as well. It's an entrepreneurial background in education. So I guess sort of why I wanted to get my MBA, it sort of revolved around really trying to understand how strategy worked at all levels of business. Always being in small business or like at a lower level, it's kind of hard, and we can always read a million different, manage your business better books that come out. There's like 10 every month, but it's really nice to, I really wanted to get like, exposure to professors who had industry knowledge with tested theory, to really give you a really solid background on how companies think and things you need to consider when you're managing at higher levels. So that was the basic reason I came. Carlson specifically would be the enterprise program. She said, I'm a career changer, so going from owning my own business, like small business, to doing consulting. I didn't have a lot of experience in very stereotypical corporate life, and so really, again, getting that exposure to these large companies that I'm working with through the consulting enterprise really helped acclimate me to that environment. And it's just a unique experience that not a lot of schools offer, and so that was definitely the major deciding factor for Carlson School.
Yeah, I'd say for me, I worked resort and recreation management, pretty traditional role, but atypical industry. And I wanted to move into maybe a little bit more of a traditional route. I wanted to go straight brand management, preferably here within Minnesota. So MBA was really the only route to do that. And I've been fortunate in that going to a school like Carlson, where you have this pretty great career services center, and they help you through that process. I was able to make this career leap that it would have been ridiculous, like impossible without an MBA. And so I thought about that, I worked hard for it here at Carlson, and now fortunate we'll be able to do that in 3 months, even though I'm like not excited to go back to real life. Like, this has been great. In terms of why Carlson, I was actually really attracted to the community. And it actually, my first exposure to that was this event when I was in your guys' shoes 2 years ago, up close. I met a lot of people who I'm still great friends with. My wife is still great friends with, or their significant others. And I came in too up close, kind of on the fence, not knowing where I would go. But as I was just telling Pat, I actually submitted my deposit and accepted on the Sunday after up close from the Aloft Hotel. So a lot of pressure. But I think I told them that I accepted on Saturday so I could get a pin. But community was a big piece for me.
All right, so I came back to get my MBA. I was at a point in my career where I wasn't really going anywhere, and I didn't really like what I was doing, and so I started talking to my old advisors from my undergrad, and they talked about the classes I liked, and I'm like, an MBA would really help you continue to learn all the things that you didn't get to learn in undergrad. And so that was a big reason. I also talked to some friends of mine who had an MBA and about what the program would give me. For why Carlson, I would second both the enterprise for the experience and the community, but also the passion of the students and the faculty. It's just, they have so much drive, and they're so passionate about the program and what it can do, and it really, I don't know, it was nice. It's not something you often see. A lot of MBA programs are just this is what we do, and Carlson is just like, what can we do to make this better? And I really liked that about it.
To our fiancés, congratulations, by the way. In this process, as you've been, watching this unfold and being a part of it, I mean, what insights could you share on how perhaps you've had, contributed to the conversation or really helped your significant other? And then what are you looking for out of the Carlson experience as well?
Want to go first?
Sure. Well, when Ness was looking at grad schools, it was important because we were both looking to go back to grad school. And so in that regard, we're a little untraditional. I'm a PA student at Augsburg right now, so we wanted to find a place that would fit for both of us. Supporting her through that has been relatively easy. I mean, I'm not just saying that that's going to be the case for everybody, but she's a super motivated person, and you all are motivated to further your careers. And so it's great to have the support of a significant other, whether it's a husband or a wife or fiance. But as far as the Carlson experience, I mean, I've been impressed with everything in regard to Carlson. What little I've had involvement in, I've been super impressed with. And from an outsider's viewpoint too, going to Augsburg and being involved in this area of Minneapolis, I hear nothing but good things about Carlson when I mention that she goes there. And that's kind of been my experience, I guess.
The selection process for us, I mean, we looked at a lot of schools, of course, as you all do. But what made it easy is I have my own business, which can travel anywhere. So we weren't really limited by location, so we kind of looked all over the country. So that might be different than if you're a significant other where you have a job in a particular city or trying to find a job in a particular city. But came out here for up close, really liked Minneapolis, really liked the Carlson community. And that's kind of just increased over time since being here. Both the city and I think you'll find as a significant other, you can be either as involved in the Carlson community or as uninvolved as you want. As far as becoming friends with the students' friends, so with Jackie's friends, and then their significant others as well. We kind of have our own little community, little club of significant others that hang out sometimes. So sometimes we even exclude them, you know.
It's not as fun.
Or they're just busy. So.
That's true.
But so it's been good. It's been a real welcoming community.
I'm just going to add that he's really fabulous, and he makes my breakfast and lunch every day, and all your significant others should do that.
Oh, Corbin. Oh, Corbin.
It helps a lot. I'm not going to lie.
No. Any other significant others feel as though that's something we need to mention? Brian, I don't know. Brian, you're the guy in the mornings, right? So because you have an early start, right?
It helps get through the day. It's tough with the newborn at home, but she does a lot.
Any other candidates here present with children as a factor here? Yeah, proudly raise them high if you're changing diapers. All right. Now I'd like to get to know you guys a little bit better. Can you give me a sense of what sort of involvements you have now that are somewhat outside of the classroom? And what's that kind of other side of the coin for you in terms of the experience? Where are you finding some fulfillment in your involvement here? And I again will open it up to the first person.
I'll take it. Otherwise, I'm just going to be like, yeah, I do what they do. So I am involved in the Graduate Volunteer Consultants, which is a fantastic organization that puts together student teams and does consulting work for nonprofits in the Twin Cities area. And I thought that I had a great experience this fall. I worked with Twin Cities in Motion, and it was just real life experience like the enterprise, but you're working with a nonprofit, and it's a real client, it's a real situation, and it's helping them work their business. And so I thought that was a really cool program that we offer. I'm also involved in Carlson Public Presence, which is a club that we have, and they do meetings that actually help work with your public presence. You can tell I'm still working on mine. But they kind of break it out, and you actually work every time, which I really like about that. And I've also, what else do we do? I feel like I do so much.
Well, I would say, an interesting piece about Carlson is because the full-time community is so small, you're essentially involved in every club as a member, per se. I mean, in that you can get invited to lunches, you can go to all the events. And then, as Jacqueline said, there's somewhere involvement from our perspective is like helping lead or being a significant piece of that. But it's really neat because it makes, I enjoy working, so you never stop doing stuff. My two favorite clubs that I've been involved in would be the Carlson Marketing Network, which is the basic marketing club that focuses on developing opportunities to network within the Minneapolis and extended area with different firms who are hiring. In addition, we do a lot of happy hours, which are fun. And then I also was involved in the Carlson Sport Business Club, where we were responsible for all of the Carlson tailgates, which are incredible. You can come back to as an alumni, so I'm excited to see you guys all there next year in the fall. And then the golf outing, which will take place in May here. So those are pretty big events. I like them. The reason I liked it so much is I like the networking events where it's less kind of swarmy, like, hey, how are you? And more like, yo, what up? And so that's why, I enjoy it.
Yeah, so I guess, it's sort of like what Blake said, you really can be involved in a ton of stuff. So I guess one of the more memorable things that I'm involved here is Common Grounds, which is an interdisciplinary student organization, and it spans business school, public policy, public health, and law. And so, I got the opportunity this year, which I just finished a few weeks back, working with the Citizens League. It's a member-supported, it's like a nonpartisan organization, not-for-profit. And we get to help them develop their energy platform, which they're trying to pitch to the legislature to help address energy efficiency issues here in Minnesota. And so just an example of, how you can really work interdisciplinarily and then also really affect the community directly, right? I mean, this is thing, I want to live in Minnesota, and this is something that actually affects Minnesota. And so it was just a really unique opportunity there.
The two student organizations that I've been the most involved with are Melissa, which is the Medical Industry Leadership Institute Student Association, long acronym, and I'll actually be on the board for that next year. And that's more of networking, organization, connecting, not just current Carlson students with one another, but also connecting current students with alumni involved in the medical industry. And so along with that, there are a lot of speaker events and networking events. And then I'm also involved with more of a consulting organization. I'm a community development fellow through Net Impact. And basically what we're doing is we're working with the West Bank, which is this neighborhood, this area that Carlson's in, working with the West Bank Business Association to come up with ways to increase student patronage of the businesses in the area. And it's an incredibly diverse neighborhood. And so as with any consulting project, it's evolving a lot. But it's been a great opportunity to, like I said, gain those real life consulting skills.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to give back. Graduate volunteer consultants, working for smaller nonprofits, doing that business plan development and consulting. Carlson for Community, which is one of our primary volunteer avenues, channels, and is responsible for our MBA charity auction, which has year over year raised tens of thousands of dollars for local nonprofits. The Net Impact and Common Grounds, and even the Neighborhood Business Fellows, which are literally right up, working with businesses outside of our doors. But marry that with those professional student organizations like the Consulting Club, Finance Club, the Marketing Network, which typically has the best slides of at any General Assembly where we call all the students together. There's a huge opportunity outside of that classroom experience to really get involved. And as Blake pointed out, with about 19 clubs and orgs and 200 and so students, you are involved in some way. And as part of my role here and my team's role is to help support building that student community and managing that student life resource for you. You just tell us what we need to do, and we'll go and get the paperwork done. The other side of the house in terms of student affairs is really the academic piece. You are here to earn your MBA degrees, and you will earn it. It's not easy. Compared to other programs, and we do run our students through the ringer. And I love that about the program. I know that they're challenged, and they work hard, and they work in teams and groups. And so I'd like to ask my next question to the students on the panel, and then I have a question for our fiancés as well. My fiancés, it sounds, I'm so happy. Can you describe to me your classroom experience? And I'd ask our second years to look at it from the second year perspective now that you've survived their first year. And you're now, in your enterprises, and you're managing your schedule and populating it with electives. And then I'll ask our first years about fall semester, as well as, how spring is going for you. So let me start with Jacqueline here in regards to her first year experience.
Holy smokes. It hits you like a train. Like, I don't know. I mean, we're all type A people. We all are like multitaskers, and we're like, you know what? Everyone says it's gonna be hard. It's nothing. No, it's a lot. And it starts with orientation, and you get through orientation, like, oh yeah, but school's gonna start, it won't be that bad. And then classes start, and you're like, holy crap. And then you get through it and you're like, all right, but next semester's gonna be better. And then it's like internship, and it's just there's always stuff going on. But it's fun, and you learn so much. And what I love about the classroom experiences is that each class is a little bit different. None of the classes at Carlson are really taught in the same format, so it's not all case studies or all lectures or all group stuff. There's really a good variety, and so it's good no matter what kind of learner you are. You get such exposure into such different types of interactions with the teachers. I think it's really nice.
I would agree with Jackie in that it's a pretty intense academic experience, and I think that's great, though. I think that's something that, as she mentioned, a lot of us were looking for. You know, we wanted to come back to business school to get the biggest bang for our buck and really feel like we're learning something. And I think in order to do that at times, you need to be a little overwhelmed, and you need to be, outside your comfort zone, academically, of course, in the classroom, but especially even in group working situations as well. I think, though, in addition to what she said, it's interesting. I don't think the experience gets much easier. It just gets different as you incorporate more of the experiential learning opportunities. The first term is just classroom work for the most part, working in groups and working a little bit on individual work. But then you get into more of the, I would say, exciting things of the program, like the enterprises that they'll be talking a little bit more about.
Yeah, I would say, though, as a second-year MBA student, you can consider this the light at the end of the tunnel. It's all relative here. You're still working hard, and you're doing a lot in the enterprise, but I'm able to purchase a golf pass and go golfing during the weekdays, which you could never have even thought of as a first year. So that's really exciting. Focusing on the enterprise itself, which, it just gets easier the more you do it. I'm in brand enterprise, working with 3M right now. I worked with Best Buy, General Mills before that. And it's a really interesting kind of B2B online procurement project, which has always been one of my passions. Online procurement, that's a joke, not a passion. But learning about that and working with this team and understanding this new industry has been really interesting, but it's maybe not in the way that the fall term was so overwhelming that I barely had any time to sleep. That's not true. You have time to sleep, but this is just a lot nicer, I think, and a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, so I don't know if it actually gets easier if you just learn to manage your time better. You sort of get used to the flow of things. Because when you come in, you just start and just go. I mean, I guess I knew, being in the full-time program, it's a little easier because you're not balancing a job, so you can literally just throw yourself full force into it. And as long as you don't put your head up, just come up every so often for some air, right, some giggles. But and definitely I think that first semester in the enterprise is rough, right? Because you only have it's a 7 or 8 week project, and you maybe you don't come from a consulting background. This is all consulting, right? If you're a brand, you're doing marketing stuff, consulting, whatever. So you're doing consulting, and it really is a trial by fire. It's pretty rough, but again, I think once you sort of get into the routine and you understand how things work, it's actually kind of fun. I don't know. I've enjoyed my second year, and like Blake said, it's a little bit lighter your second year. A lot of that's for you to be able to find jobs and look for things like that. But you really do get a chance to enjoy the experience that you went through the year before with all these people that you went through these horrible trials and tribulations with. You're able to just take a breath and kind of enjoy your time here in the MBA program a little bit more. So.
All right, folks, question time. I think it's, if I remember, state your name, where you're from, and I'll repeat the question so we capture that. Who has our first question? Yes, Ashley.
Oh, wow, I didn't want first. Ashley Jenkins, girlfriend from the Detroit area right now. It kind of went along with the last thing, so significant others. When has been the hardest time, 4 years from now, that you'd say right now, looking at, when do they kind of need the most support? Because I'll be supporting from afar, and I guess kind of like to know, is it test time? Is it at the beginning? When have you seen as the hardest time that they've been through so far?
So Ashley's question is regarding David. How, what's that support wavelength look like? I mean, is it peak and valley? When do you think you need to throw in the most to our fiancés?
For me, it's been most when there's any kind of transition in the program. So initially, I mean, right around orientation time into the beginning of the first semester. And then also the transition kind of between first semester and second semester. Or within the semester, they switch classes halfway through. And so there's some transition there too. So it was any time where she was starting something new or finishing up something old, because that's kind of when everything accumulates at the same time. And so, yeah, I think that was the most intense. But that's kind of the time you just let them do their thing, close the office door a little and find a new hobby. And when they come out for air, make them a snack. And
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Definitely during the times where you're transitioning into something new. Especially for us, I know when she was looking for her internship, and that varies among students as I understand it, can be like, beginning late fall all the way extending through part of the spring as far as figuring out what you're going to be doing for your summer internship between first and second year. But it's a big responsibility for the students to go out and seek out these internships, and they have all of their school stuff on top of it. And so that was definitely a time where I felt that like I supported her more, but there are times when I'm busier too, and she has to support me. So it's definitely, a give and take, and you got to be there for each other. It's kind of the bottom line.
I am a real romantic, so I wonder if our first years could tell us where their internships are going to be.
Sure. I'll be at Dish Network out in Denver. I'll be working as a finance person under their ops department. I'm super pumped.
And I'll be at Accenture for the summer working in their healthcare consulting group.
Great, thank you. Questions? Yes, Karen.
Karen Spitzfaden. I live in Houston, and my question is just a follow-up. Did you find those internships from on-campus recruiting, or how can you talk a little bit?
So Karen's question is, how did you find your internships?
Mine was through on-campus recruiting. Yeah.
It was that easy, folks. Just confirm, come to Carlson, boom.
Mine was, so it wasn't through the formal on-campus recruiting process where employers come to Carlson and set up camp in the Career Center and do all their interviewing at the Career Center, but it was definitely through some events that the company, that Accenture had at Carlson, some informational events that started off in the fall, and then from that starting point I was able to get connected to people in the company and really start networking and having a lot of coffee. I think my coffee budget was insane over the internship search season, but I think it's a lot of reaching out and kind of putting yourself out there and just trying to have as many conversations as possible to figure out, if you can really see yourself landing there.
What was that career coach piece like for you as you were, building yourself to present yourself to those internship hiring managers?
So obviously I met with a career coach a couple times, but what I really liked is that the students got together, and every Tuesday and Thursday from winter break until the next semester started, had interview preps. And you would all just meet, we'd come into school, people would print off a list of questions, we'd pair up, we'd go to a breakout room, and we'd practice. And interviewing sucks, it's not fun. And doing it with your classmate is kind of at first, but it was so nice once you got that trust barrier, and I think it really helped me feel like part of the community, and I got the practice in, and I got their feedback, and I was able to get to a point where I was comfortable interviewing. And so that was something that I really appreciated that Carlson had in their community sense.
I think that having access to career coaches is huge, especially for me because I didn't do the formal on-campus recruiting process. A lot of it is, like I said, more reaching out to people, setting up coffees, and so my career coach, it took some time to kind of figure out who do I connect best with in the Career Center, but once I found that coach, I looked back actually recently and saw that I met with her 1 to 2 times every month. Just even just to check in and let her know how things were going, and she'd have bits of advice to give me throughout the process, which was really important. I think that the student groups, though, that get together to practice are really important as well, especially for me as I was looking at consulting opportunities, and I don't have a consulting background. The case interview process is a little intimidating, so knowing that I could rely on my peers was really great.
Charles.
Charles Stewart from Yuma, Arizona. My question is directed towards second-year students. Regarding that light at the end of the tunnel, how bright does that light of opportunity shine outside of the Minneapolis area when it's time to decide what to do after Carlson?
So Charles' question is, what opportunities are outside of the Twin Cities area?
From a career standpoint or from?
Yes.
Okay. So for me, so I wanted to do brand management. It's what I wanted to do. And I got the opportunity. I'm going back to work at General Mills here in Minnesota. And that was going to be, no matter where I went to school, the goal was to get General Mills in Minnesota, just because General Mills as a firm is, great for brand management. So for me, I was focused there, so I might be a bad judge about outside of Minnesota, what was the goal. But I would say a lot of my classmates have had a lot more success as they have looked outside of Minnesota and expanded their, I would say, the scope of what they're looking at.
So I'm doing a little bit of outside Minnesota search, actually. So I'm looking, I think the school really does a lot to help you out, I think. So one of the places I'm looking at is DC, right, Washington, DC. And and basically, because it's not Minnesota-based, you kind of have to do a lot of the work on your own. But the thing is, you have to use, there's a lot of resources here that you can leverage to sort of carry that Minnesota graduate degree outside of Minnesota. And basically, so I met with Assistant Dean Phil Miller, obviously the GBCC coaches, Michelle Moylan, and they help you, obviously connect you with alums, CCE as well, Consulting Enterprise. They connect you with alumni that live in the area that you're looking for, and you're really able to, you call them. And honestly, everyone I've called has been super nice, really helpful, really help you out, tell you like what's going on out there in that specific landscape, and really can point you in a direction and let you know a little bit about what they're doing. And so it's been really helpful. And I like I said, even though we are Minnesota-based, there's a lot of people in a lot of different areas, in different corners of the country, and you're gonna have someone there. And it's really just that, right? You get that lifeline out there, and then from that you sort of build out, like who do they know? So I mean, sort of like even my internship, I got it from a classmate's fiance's who's in a social group that this guy's a part of. Right? And so it's really just like leveraging what you get and going through the channels and just kind of like finding that seam. And again, like I said, most people I've talked to have been really nice, and most of them are actually boosters. They'll actually help you. They really want to help you. That's one of the things I've actually come across is if they can help, they totally will. They're not just doing it just like because they feel guilty, and they definitely don't brush you off. Like I've really had complete buy-in with people that I really don't know. Right? When I'm calling them, they don't know me from anybody, right? Because it's only a 2-year degree. But no, it's definitely there. And again, it's just leveraging everyone from assistant deans to the Graduate Business Career Center to your enterprise coach to really to get that out there. So,
Could you just touch on the enterprise networking value as well? So the Career Center obviously has its very well-established connections throughout the world, and the enterprises are such a demanding process but create so much exposure. What value have you seen in the enterprises in regards to your career search?
I mean, for me, the enterprise director made a call the week before my interview for me, and I got a job. So, I mean, that was pretty like cut and dry, helping, support. But that wouldn't have been possible if I hadn't worked hard before that and proved to be capable, I believe at least. Beyond that, Dave, do they meet Dave? Do they meet enterprise directors? Okay. So Dave, he's helped many other people within the brand enterprise as well find opportunities outside Minnesota, here in Fortune 500, smaller firms, everywhere. And so that's always been an option for me. And one of the reasons I chose brand enterprise as my eventual enterprise.
I think there was a question on my page.
Yes. I'm Paige Kirkpatrick. I'm actually originally from Indiana. I'm already in school here. My question was more towards the second years in your international experience. You could talk a little bit about that, how you determined where you're going, and what you learned from it, how you liked it, that sort of thing.
So Paige's question is regarding the international course in the second year, the Global Discovery Program. How did you choose your destination, and what was that like? I was there for one of them, so I know a little bit.
So the three you have three choices, or they present you with a list of choices, and so ours was China, Dubai, and India, and I chose India. It was. I have to say, I was actually kind of impressed. In terms of choosing it, I mean, part of it played in I'd already been to China, but another part was just the companies that were on the list that they were planning to go see, and the professor that was going, Ravi Bopna, which I don't know if you've met him, but absolutely phenomenal professor. He sort of sold on the program and sort of what he was going to do, and so who we were going to see, and he totally delivered. We went to India, really met, some heavy hitters. Titans of industry. Like people, they were like higher than people I've met here. It was amazing to really meet them and just understand. It definitely built out a little bit, helped you understand how culture impacts the way business is done. And just understanding how things operated in a different country. And I'd worked in different countries before, but it's 2 weeks, and every day you're going to a new place, sometimes 2 places a day, and so you really get a good feel of the challenges that they face, particularly in that country, doing business there, and then sort of you also get to understand that piece of sort of how the U.S. and where we are sort of based out of, how that works in with their business plan. So it was quite amazing.
So my international experience before Carlson was I went to Dominican Republic for spring break once. And then I drove to Winnipeg, Manitoba when I was 18 I don't know why. Pretty well-traveled person. Now this is also this sounds bad, but I want to be truthful here. I signed up to go to China. That's where it seemed like a lot of my friends were going. Because I thought all three of these options were so incredible that how could I really choose? But I went to China, and it was, bar none, best experience I've had at Carlson. 2 weeks, everything Chris said, but also just experiencing this with your classmates, people you've grown to become such great friends with. I couldn't, I had to sleep for 4 weeks when I got back, just because we did so much during those 2 weeks. But it really was an incredible experience. I was blown away.
I'm going to have to echo that, because I went on the India trip as a coordinator, AKA soccer mom, that had a nice frame put in my office from the group. And when the founding member of Tata walks in, he's one of the richest people in the world, and says to the professor in the room, "Hey, Ravi," like that. Everybody oh my God. It was pretty cool. And then we had a CEO invite us to his home for a movie night. But the access we had to the companies was really tremendous. It was great to have students sitting in front of, very well-positioned and very well-known companies, and our students who had done the research prior to arriving asking tough questions, not softball questions. And it was great to see, our business connections there really speaking frankly about business in India, and I'm assuming the same went for UAE, Oman, Dubai, as well as China. So it is certainly one of the highlight experiences within the program, which is going to lead me to my next question as we start to wrap up here. What highlight experiences stand out for you thus far? And I'll go for our first years yet, knowing that answer might change for next year. But something that's particularly a good memory. And anything goes. It could be, within these walls or elsewhere.
I don't know if there's one memory. I mean, I've made some amazing friends that it's embarrassing that I've only known them for 9 months because I feel like I've known them my entire lives. And it's just, I can't even pin it down to one thing. I mean, it's just such an incredible experience.
So I agree, within the Carlson walls, it really is hard to pick one experience that stands out, just because I think with the academics and also all the opportunities you have outside the classroom, there's just a lot that you can get involved with and dig in deep. Outside Carlson, though, I got engaged, which is pretty cool.
I was totally going to call that out.
So, I mean, you obviously do have some time for life to fit in.
Burning question. Anybody? Yes, Jessica. Sorry, Karen.
It's fine.
Hi, I'm Jessica from Chicago, and I am curious for all the people who will be transplanting to Minneapolis. Where do you live? Do you need a car? Those sort of practical things.
Yeah. So Jessica's question is, the transition to Minneapolis. What are your tips, advice? And I think I'd like to have our significant others maybe go first and talk a little bit about that transition, and then have our students wrap that up for us.
Sure. Well, we moved from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, so about 4 hours away. So trying to find a place to live. There's plenty of apartments and places you can live in the area. It kind of all depends on what's most important to you. If you don't want a long commute in the morning, you live closer. But if you're okay with living in a suburb, you might find something a little nicer that's cheaper. Just have to drive a little farther. But in terms of finding a place, I mean, we looked at a lot of different apartments. We live fairly close. Our commute's like 10 minutes, and Augsburg's down the street, so we commute together, which is super nice. Yeah, I mean, start early, like look for apartments and figure out what you want. That'd be my advice.
Yeah, we moved here from Denver. We came out one weekend to look for apartments as we flew out on a Friday and kind of looked at 10 places Friday, 10 places Saturday or so, and finally settled on one. If you're trying to stay within a certain budget, you might have to look around more, especially if you want to be either downtown or close to downtown or close to campus, because some of those apartments just fill up early, but it's definitely doable. We found a place we love. Transportation-wise, I think if you live downtown or close to campus, you could do it without a car. I mean, there is a bus system, Jackie buses to school every day. That said, we do have one car between the two of us. If you're going to live outside of kind of the downtown or uptown or campus area, it might not be bad to have a car. It really depends on what your needs are, how you like to do that.
Yeah, this is just for those people who are living in a suburb. I live in Bloomington, Minnesota. I have a dog and a house. So I was nervous that I would be kind of on the periphery, having this commute. It really wasn't difficult at all. I never felt like that altered or inhibited my ability to stay involved here at Carlson.
Yeah, I booked my place actually when I was living in Chile, so I did it pretty blindly. But yeah, I mean, there's like a discounted bus pass that students get, and so I would just say, look at a bus route, find something that's on a line, either if it's a parking ride from the burbs in, or just like I live right along the 16 on University Avenue, and just use that. I mean, I have a car, but it's just so. I mean, I don't want to go drive. I don't want to like send my car into a snowbank when I hit black ice or something. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's awful. I'm from Texas. There's no snow, right? It doesn't snow. School's shut down.
Or, meteorites and other asteroids that apparently.
And so I would just say, the most important thing to me is just look at the bus line, metrotransit.org, find something that is on that, and it'll make it so much easier for you than having to switch over and do all this crazy stuff. It's not fun.
As a fellow Chicagoan, it's easy. It's not like back on 290 Eisenhower, so it's really nice, actually. So I'd like to thank our panelists for their time today. And I will turn this over to Lynn, who will transition us to our next session. Thanks, everybody. See you later.